The CIA is blaming Israel for the made-up threat that left Trump hiding inside a catering truck. Yeah, it turns out that wacky threat that Trump was subjected to that caused him to do the switcheroo with the planes, the one where he got snuck out of Air Force One in a catering car and then took a separate jet home, and so on and so forth. It turns out that was a Israeli constructed threat that the CIA immediately knew was bullshit, but obviously Trump does what he's told, so. Israel had Trump hiding like a coward in a sweaty goddamn, catering container because they want to keep him involved in the Iran war. And it works too. Obviously it works too. In the cuck cart? In the cuck cart, yeah. How is the FBI and CIA even still competent? They're not. You don't have to be competent to know that Israel lies about literally everything. It's just that the CIA and FBI are now toothless in their determined role because the project of capital right now is deliberately irrationalist, which means that the CIA and FBI don't have as much work to do. The CIA you need a consistent directive in order to do anything from these institutions. But now that capital is mostly interested in infinite rape, they can't really do much other than sit and watch. The CIA is in the cuck chair, is what I'm saying. U.S. intelligence officials were skeptical of an Iranian assassination threat against President Donald Trump that was relayed by Israel and prompted an extraordinary clandestine maneuver that saw him secretly fly out of Turkey in an alternative military aircraft. Oh, it's funny. The assassination threat was relayed by the Israeli government to the CIA, where analysts did not view the intelligence as compelling and convey that skepticism to Trump administration officials. It doesn't matter, of course. What Israel says, Trump does. Another official called the reports of threats against Trump's life Israeli-derived, not U.S.-generated, and viewed as low confidence. It's funny how contemptuous the CIA is that they take second fiddle to Israel in terms of directing the president, but they can't do anything about it.
Israel had passed along some intelligence which suggested a specific threat from Iran targeting Air Force One, a threat involving a shoulder-fired missile. Now, some officials were reportedly skeptical of that Israeli intelligence, which was viewed as part of Israel's effort to influence President Trump's decision-making on Iran. Joining us now, John.
A lot of conservative men are into leftist women for some reason. Everyone's into leftist women. Nobody wants a conservative woman.
Hudson, national security.
Conservatives are almost universally undesirable to be around. Conservatives themselves understand this, which is why so much of their time is dedicated towards fantasizing about politically breaking a leftist woman or being subjected to cuckoldry by a black man. Their psychosexual fantasies almost entirely revolve around us. We, on the other hand, have no regard for them. All conservative thought and all their opinions and all their cultural influence could be erased from society with basically no influence in our lives. The eradication of liberal and leftist influence on the psychosexual cultural framework of the United States, however, would be universally eradicating. Everyone would suffer immensely.
Reporter for the Washington Post, who, of course, has been digging up so many of these important new details on the president's cloak and dagger flight. And you have a new byline out this morning, along with your colleagues, that the CIA specifically had low confidence, right? We talked about questions at the time in this intel coming from Israel, whether it was perhaps being used to try to influence President Trump's thinking. What did you learn about the CIA's take?
Yeah, there was a significant degree of skepticism by the CIA in the veracity. There was low confidence in the information that the Israel.
Okay, dumb question, but at this point, when Israel does a few more of these fake assassination threats, what are they going to do to keep Trump pulled into the Iran war? They could just keep doing this forever. Trump is, not a real obstacle here.
Passed along about the degree of the threat facing the president. There was concern that the information may have been more intended to manipulate the U.S. policy making rather than inform U.S. policy making. Obviously, it's a bit extraordinary to see the contrast with the level of confidence that U.S. intelligence officials had about this threat.
The analysis is so boring here because they can't even address the actual problem. There's this inept, well, we were shocked by the massive gulf in confidence between U.S. and Israeli officials. No, the CIA immediately knew it was fake because the CIA is full of, for better or for worse, intelligence analysts and experts, and Israel lies about everything. It's not, you don't have to be a genius to know they lied about this too. Like the U.S. intelligence services have been talking about Mossad's, malicious attitude towards the U.S. for years and years and years. They know that Israel is a hostile government, but they can't do anything about it. The CIA doesn't really have any influence over the president anymore.
And the degree of caution exercised by the Secret Service in response to this threat. And in some ways, that this just shows that the Secret Service does have a different risk calculus that it has to deal with. There's no room for error. There were 3 very high-profile near-miss assassination attempts against the president, and they didn't want to leave anything up for chance here. Now, at the same time, you have to look at what was the incoming threat that was being reported by a top U.S. ally in the Middle East, and that's where the U.S. intelligence officials brought a degree of skepticism. They have a long history of processing and analyzing information that comes in from Israel. They don't accept everything at face value. So they provided some.
Of course, the media is also run by the same people that are directing Trump. So you wouldn't expect them to say something as straightforward as Israel literally always lies all the time about everything. Just a little bit too straightforward for them, unfortunately. But what are you going to do? Young Caleb Maupin. He does have kind of a Caleb Maupin-esque, phenotype to him, I think. It's like the curly hair and the red face, a kind of, boyishness and stasis. But that's unfair to this guy. I don't know anything about this guy. I know he's a national security reporter for the Washington Post, so he's probably incredibly evil, but that's really all I know. That's all I've got. Breaking. Israel faked assassination plot to send Trump running. You forgot to play Anthropium today? It would lighten the mood. Well, I want to feel like I have a little bit more of a handle on the day-to-day news. My life has been very, very frantic lately. Part of it's packing. A lot of it's also all the legal business you have to prepare for when moving countries. It's a lot of work. I'm quite stressed.